to the tutorial of swapping values between two variables. For example, in this main function, we have two integer variables. The first variable is first num, while the second variable is second num. Okay, the first one is initialized with value 10, while the second one is initialized with value 20. So what actually we want to do is to swap these values between these two variables, so that second num may be assigned with 10 while first num may be assigned with 20 value. So we want to do this using the programming logic. Okay, so for that purpose we have declared a temporary variable integer, and the value has been initialized from the value of first number. So now the first number value will be saved in temp variable. Then as we know that the value of first number is also copied to the temp variable, so now we can change the value of first num while assigning the value of second num into the first num. So at this stage, first num is equal to second num means that value of both the variable first num and second num is same, that is 20. Okay, so 20 is assigned, or you may say that 20 is copied to the first number. Okay, so the both variable has similar value but in different locations. In similar way, we have assigned the temp value which has stored the value of first num into the second num. So in this way we have exchanged the value of first number and second number. Okay, we want to see the result on the console screens. For that we need to introduce the cout statement just before the formula, this one. Okay, this logic, after this logic, so that we may see the before swapping values and after swapping values. Okay, so these are the two cout statements in which we are going to print the first num and second num values, which will be obviously 10 for the first num and 20 for the second num. Okay, but after processing the formula, this programming logic, we will observe the changes of the values in between these two variables, the first num and the second num. So how can we see that on the screen? Let's introduce, copy and paste exactly the statement, but we should write it down after swap so that we may comprehend that these two statements are printed after processing of the formula. So if we print here first num and second num, so we will see the changes that first num has value 20 while the second num has value 10. So let's build and compile this. Okay, you can see here, before swapping the first num has assigned with 10 while the second number has assigned to 20, and after swapping you can see the change here that first number has been assigned, or the value of first number has been replaced with 20, and the value of second number has been changed from 20 to 10. Okay, so this has been performed using swapping logic in the programming. Okay, now I want to perform this operation or this task by using or introducing the user-defined function. So how can we do this? Let's declare the function, the swap num. It will swap two variables. Okay, and the same formula from the main function will be copied here to the user-defined function. Okay, so let's copy that formula. Here integer x and y are the parameter variable. Okay, and temp has been declared as a temporary variable. Okay, so in very similar way to this logic, x value will be assigned to temp, and then y value will be assigned to x, and then temp value will assign to y. So we will observe changes here in this function in between two variables. Okay, so how can we observe this using on the console screen? So by introducing the cout statement before swapping, we want to see what are the actual values before swapping of x and y. We will also be interested to see the changes after swapping. So this will be the statement will present the values after swapping. Okay, and let's see. Okay, so we haven't called the function in the main function, so let's call it. This is the main function where we have called the user defined function with two arguments, first num and second num. So what will happen here, that the value of first num and value of second num will be copied from these argument and will be saved in x and y. Remember, the values will be copied here from first number and second number into x and y. It means that first num and second num has different location, has different address in the RAM as compared to the x and y which have different location in the RAM. Okay, so the values will just be copied from here and will be saved in different location in the RAM. So for first num, the value will be copied into x, and for second num, value will be copied into y. Okay, so it means that first num and x has totally different location with different values. Okay, remember, this is a very important concept behind the passing parameter by values. Okay, we will also see passing parameters by reference. Okay, so now we don't need this formula to be here in this main function because we are performing the same using user defined function by calling the user defined function. Okay, so let's see. Here you can see in the main function before swapping 10 and 20. Okay, and this is the output of the user defined function. So before swap we have 10 and 20 for x and y respectively, and after swapping we can see the changes and x and y, that is x is now equal to 20 while y is equal to 10. But when execution came back to the main function, so we can see no changes being occurred for first num and second num. Okay, so these are the values which were initially being initialized to the variables in the main function. So it means that the operation has been performed in the user defined function only, and that changes cannot be observed in the main function. So this is why I have already discussed that the values here in the argument are copied and saved in different locations. So it means that the swapping operation has been performed in different location and not on the locations where first num and second num are saved or reserved in the RAM. So we are not able to see the changes here in these location in the RAM. Okay, if you're interested to see the location of the RAM, so just put the reference operator. Okay, you can see here the reference operator before the variable first and second. Okay, so we can observe or we can see the addresses of these two variables. Now we can also see the address of, you can write it reference operator here in this cout statement, or you can also put it here. So it doesn't matter, it will always print the same address. Okay, so now this operation, this reference operator will print the address of the variable. So let's see that how can first num and second num have different addresses of the RAM than the x and y. So when we call the user defined function, so you can see x has address 0 into 61FDF0 and y has address this one. In the main function, first num has address 0 into 61FE1C, which is different address, the different location from the address or location of x. Okay, so it means that the value inside the first num was 10, so that 10 was copied to different location and we perform the swapping operation on the different location and not on the original location of the first num. So you can see here that the addresses are different. Similarly, for second num, address is 0 into 61FE18, while the address of y is 0 into 61FDF8. So these are the two different locations. So it means that all the four locations are different locations. Okay, so this is why the operation has been performed only on the x and y and not on the second and first num. So what we can do is introducing the parameter passing by reference. So the simple concept is to get the address in the parameter list. Okay, so just delete the addresses operator, the address of operators, and introduce the address of operator here in the header of the user defined function. So you can write this address of operator just in prefix of the variable or postfix of the data type, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so syntax is fine. Okay, so now what we are doing is we are here actually copying the address of the first num and address of the second num into x and y. So it means that first num and x will point to the same location. Okay, now the second num and y will also point to the same location. So the value of first num here is 10. Similarly, here we will see that the value of x is also pointing to this same 10, and this case is very similar to the second num as well, where the second num will be equal to 20 and y will also be pointing to the same 20 and same location where the second num is pointing to. Okay, so in this way we will perform the operation, the swapping operation on the same location. Okay, so we will see the changes here in the user defined function as well as changes inside the main function. Okay, so let's see. Okay, now you can see the main function cout, where these cout are before swap function. So first num is assigned with 10 and second num is assigned with 20, and these 10 and 20 are also can be seen in the user defined function, where x is equal to 20, x is equal to 10, y is equal to 20, and swapping has been performed on the same location because x and num are both pointing to the same location where 10 is reside. Okay, while second num and y are also pointing to the same location where 20 is saved. Okay, so we are performing the swapping operation on the same locations. So therefore you can see x is equal to 20, y is equal to 10. So swapping has been performed. Okay, and the similar observation we have noticed in the main function as well. You can see when the execution came back to the main function, so the first num has value now 10 because the first num is pointing to the same location where x is pointing, and the second num is equal to 10 where y is also pointing to the same location. So we have seen the changes in the main function as well. Now if you want to see the addresses of x, y and first num and second num, so this is very easy. You may just write down the address of operator in cout with variables, both in user defined function and main function. Okay, so we have introduced the address of operator here in this statement, while address of operator here in this, and we want to see actually whether the addresses of these variables are similar or not. Okay, so in user defined function we have called this the addresses of, we have printed the addresses of x and y. Okay, this is the address of x, this is the address of y, while in the main function we have also printed the address of first num and second num. So you can see that the address of x in user defined function is also the address of first num in the main function. Okay. Similarly, second num has also the same location or same address as in the user defined function of variable y. So this is why when we performed operation on the same address, it means that we are performing the operation on the same location, same variable, on same values. So here you can, this concept is known as, values passing or parameter passing by reference. And we observe actually the changes not only in the user defined function but also in the main function. So this was the concept of how we can pass the parameter passing by value, where we are unable to see the changes in two different functions because the values are just copied from one function into another function and the locations are very different from each other. While in the second option we use the reference, passing parameter by reference, where in the declaration of function, or in the header of the function, we use a reference of operator, okay, and we just pass the variable or argument from here, but it doesn't mean that the copies of the values will be saved here in X, but the addresses of these variables will be copied in the parameters of the user defined function because of the introducing the address of operator in the user defined function. So I guess it is clear to you, and see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial.